Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles in partnership with Movie Maker magazine. My name is Danny DeLillo. We're here at the South Park Centre. I'm delighted to be joined with Brad, who's joined us all the way from Sydney, Australia. Brad, I can't believe it. It's amazing with his fantastic film, The Knowledge Keepers. Let's take a look at the clip.
My name's Baimi. I come from a little place called Gadooga. I'm a researcher, and a lecturer at Monash University, which is down in Melbourne. But I live out at home, which is pretty cool, and I feel very lucky to be able to do that.
My name's Den. I'm a descendant from the people of Mudgee.
Brad, thank you. Firstly, welcome to New Filmmakers LA family. Welcome to rainy Los Angeles. We are so glad you brought your film here. Thank you so much for being here, honestly.
Danny, it's a pleasure to be here. It's worth the trip, that's for sure.
I am honoured that you brought your film to us at New Filmmakers LA. Such an important story, and I just thoroughly enjoyed listening to you at the film festival last night. For those that haven't seen it, tell us a little bit about it.
Sure, I would like to say it's an educational piece. It's bringing to light the knowledge of First Nations land practitioners in the areas of fire, flood, and also heat. And basically, we wanted to bring together younger people in the film to ask the questions of land practitioners, so that we're basically educating a lot of people in the hope that it will force younger people to think more about what's happening to their land and their country and whether they will act for the future. Because there's a little bit of a lost hope that the people who are much older than them have either lost the fight or aren't willing to fight.
Brad, it was powerful. It was really powerful, and I just felt very proud of you up on the stage because, you know, when you're talking about really important concerns around the world, particularly from the voices of First Nation people in Australia, it was so powerful to see. I could have sat around that campfire for ages. I really, really enjoyed it, and I was so glad that you were sharing a very important story because these young people, it's their future, and you know, we want better future for our young people, right? Where did this start for you, Brad? Where did this story uncover that you had to make this incredible documentary?
I think what you experienced in Los Angeles this year with the fires and the devastation there, we've been dealing with that quite a lot in Australia for a long time. And I've gotten to know a few of the land management practitioners over the years who work in that fire burning space. They work in dealing with floods. We've got one of the nursery that we showed in last night, the Indigo nursery, is from my country, my home country in Bidjigal land. So I've experienced quite a lot of the amazing people, and I've seen that they don't get the support that they need, they don't get the amplification that they need, and people are just not aware of the knowledge and skills that they've had passed down to them from generations, from ancestors. And it is a practice that, especially in cultural burning, they're trying to revive more and get more and more young people interested in it, learning from it. We've got some great organisations like Fire Sticks Alliance, the Juggin Alliance, National Indigenous Disaster Resilience people. They're doing so much themselves, but you know, what I really wanted to do with their expertise is get their word and their knowledge out to the rest of Australia to start with, and now thanks to you guys and a few other places around the world.
I mean, you're doing that. I mean, you know, when you go in to make a project and you have an idea about what you want to do, how was it? I mean, because you've got to get obviously the people that you're working with to trust you, as your kind of your subjects, and also, you know, it's not easy because this is really critical conversations as well, and you've got these powerful people with such knowledge that's been brought down from their ancestry, and it was amazing to hear in the setting. What did you, in making this film, what did you kind of like learn? From, you know, things that maybe you weren't expecting as you were kind of going through the filmmaking process, and actually even hearing from the people from the land to sort of tell these stories as well? Yeah,
trust is vital to any First Nations content creation and storytelling. I'm a Bidjigal man from a little place called La Perouse in the northern part of Botany Bay in Sydney, and pretty much my entire life I've known that unless I build relationships with people, then I can't build their trust, and I won't have their trust to work forward. And any content that I make, that's the first thing that I try to do. Additionally, in a space where I'm not an expert in these land management practices, I made sure I brought on someone for this project that was an expert in that space. He hates the term expert. He'd rather just consider himself a practitioner. But his name's Baimi Williamson. He's in the film. He's the first voice first person you see on the beautiful Milk Beach in Vaucluse overlooking the Sydney Harbour. He's the first person you see and voice in the film. But I made sure that I engaged by me so he could tell me who were the right people to engage, which places could we go, where to avoid, and not avoid in a because they're not they're bad people or anything, because he wanted to make sure that we were able to find people across the different areas that this film needed to find. Yeah. And we reached out to a lot of different people. A lot of the time it was also difficult due to time of year, due to different weather patterns around where we were filming. And we can talk to those challenges as well, because, like you're seeing in Tongva country here and LA, when it rains, you can't put fire on the ground. Yeah. So when you're filming mainly about burning country and it rains, it makes it very difficult to do your stories.
No, absolutely. You're literally living in it as it's happening, right? Absolutely. It was very, very powerful to watch your film, mainly because of the people that were telling it. Obviously in these First Nation indigenous places around the world, land has been stolen. And in this case, you've got the number one protectors of land are the indigenous people. And it was so much more powerful hearing from their perspective, because they've been taught how to protect and take care of their land, even when it's been taken away from them. What did you want the wider audience to sort of take from the perspective of these First Nation indigenous people? Because I think it's a really important perspective to not hear just from the science side of all these, people that work in weather and this thing, and actually hear from the people that have been protecting the land for generations.
Yeah. I think what you also saw in the documentary is we did get non-Indigenous ally voices in it as well, because, there's an ongoing saying in our country is that, and I'm sure it's a First Nations issue around the world, but most non-First Nations people will only believe something about First Nations people when a non-First Nations person has told them. And it's a tragedy in the world, but it's a realistic story in Australia. Like, unless, in our words, unless a white person's telling you about black issues, they won't believe it. So we played into that as well to some point, whereas you will see there's a non-Indigenous ally in the first cultural burning story that we showed, and he talked about why he's coming on the journey to learn. Because it's important that if First Nations people do not own the land, and it's been lost to whether it be farmers or other landowners, that they will open up the land again to be cleaned up and to have fire put on it, or to take care of the land the way the traditional owners would like that land to be cared for. So to have, and then I think it was our final story, you have the local council representative understanding that a partnership with First Nations, native title holders and traditional owners can help fix that land so that farmers and stockmen have healthier land for their horses, for their cattle. There's no more poisonous toxic weeds on the ground. But then it's also regenerating. Malcolm, the ranger, talks about how when that land is healthier and the native grasses grow, the animals will return. So it helps everybody. Absolutely. So what we really want people to take out of it is, don't fear First Nations practices and knowledges. Embrace them and allow them, and you can benefit from their knowledge. Absolutely, and I think there's education in there. There's empathy. There's understanding. There's a lot of things in which the film you've given us tremendous context. But I think even just you coming from all the way from Sydney, Australia, you're coming to another city that has gone through its own situation with fires, and we're fighting against that across this country as well. And even just that empathy of understanding from Australia to the United States, understanding what that is. How critical do you think it is? I mean, we're seeing it, but how critical, but also how quickly do we need to move? What do you think we need to do together collectively? Well, it is critical. I don't know the exact numbers on it, but I can tell you it's critical. And what we saw here, and what I saw all the way over in Sydney, fires here made the news in Australia, big time. Because, as much as it's a tragedy in itself, but because of what we deal with in Australia, we empathise. Yeah. We understand what you're going through, and we see that as a major issue. Mm-hmm. But why wouldn't you not want to protect? I mean, I saw very wealthy homes go up in the hills, and it's like that could be prevented with the knowledge of First Nations land practitioners in moving some of that mess on the ground away, so that you are left with just the big trees. and then there's less likely that that place will completely burn, saving those properties. Like it's important now. The irony for a lot of this and how we made the film was we were supported by a large insurance company in Australia to make this film. What started as some small storytelling about different areas that we went to, we realised it was most likely more powerful in a documentary capturing all the stories in one. And then adding the fire scene at the beach with the young kids asking the practitioners, well, how can we take part in this? Rather than just be dumping a whole bunch of what people would see as First Nations people telling their stories, we switched it to the perspective of young people asking the questions, well, how can we help? How can we be part of this? Why is it important? And that's why. And to have that support of NRMA Insurance in Australia was phenomenal. And they have a First Nations head in there, an amazing Gomeroi man called Darren Hammond, who saw the work that Campfire X does and says, we need to tell more stories. We'd like to support. The insurance company obviously would benefit from having people getting behind these stories, and that's how all this came about. It's actually a really brand new model of funding film content that we've seen, that brands are getting on board to help tell First Nation stories. We want to replicate this all the time so we can get more and more stories told. Brands can look great and feel better and support a cause, but also we can then not only tell our stories for First Nations people, but we can support other causes as well, like we are in this space.
It's really incredible what you're doing, and it really is incredible that you're shining a light on the people that represent this film as well. I mean, even when we had the fires here, yes, wealthy houses went up, but a lot of our other communities got overlooked. Altadena, didn't get as much attention because it wasn't a wealthier neighborhood, and of course that comes down to racism, that comes down to a lot of things in this country. But I think that's why it's important to really, support give extra level of support with the right people telling the story that are overlooked, especially when it comes to climate and all those different things as well. So I love that you are literally not only made a film, but you're building a campaign. You're campaigning against this, and this film really is a much larger part of that. What is next for you with this journey, and how can we help? How can we support?
Yeah, and it's not just the stories we're telling for the people, but it's the people who made the stories. I mean, I'm just so passionate that every time we create content, whether it be a small little project on the ground, telling a small community story, we always make sure, big or small, that our crew are First Nations. We've had an amazing DOP in Brendan Blacklock who shot this film, the help of Justin Rule, another one who helped do like a steady cam around the campfire, Lou Gages with sound. And as we saw last night, I introduced you to Peter Cooke, our director, who was also in the crowd. We're phenomenally proud of that. Our next project on the environmental side of things, supporting First Nations land management, we'd love to do more of that. We'd love to be able to tell more stories in Australia and also tell global stories. There is a network of practitioners here and around the world, some of which I met at Lismore at the National Indigenous Disaster Resilience Conference. These are amazing, out on the ground. They're not in buildings, they're on the ground outside where people can feel the environment that they're in and care for. We've got a number of projects that we're working on, some to do with treaties in New South Wales. Australia is the last Commonwealth country in the world to have a treaty with their government. We do not have one. Everyone else has one. So conversations have been happening a long time. It's been a tough political time in Australia for First Nations people. And the Victorian government have just had one with their state government. New South Wales are on the journey. I'm working on the communications and media work with the Commission at the moment in New South Wales. So there's a big possibility that we'll have a longer form documentary on that journey. Wow. We're also quite passionate about a music piece at the moment in Australia on mainstream music and the decline of, live music in Australia. But as a company, we're just really passionate about telling stories the right way. Yeah. We're not about trying to catch people out. No. We're really about trying to be truthful, but also compassionate. We want to make sure that the people whose stories we're helping to tell feel that we're in their team. Yeah. and that we want to do it properly.
Just appreciating the conversation yesterday, because it was really powerful up there, and we're just so grateful for you for coming here, for being here with us as well, and thank you for shining a light on all the people that were involved in your film, in front and behind camera. And we're looking forward to your next projects, and welcome to the family. We'll never let you go.
Danny, thanks so much, and I appreciate the opportunity. Hello to everyone out there. Campfire X, we will happily work with you. We're very capable, and we're passionate and proud, and we always see our projects through, and we're looking forward to the next one. If you want to help us out, check us out, campfirex.co.